Hey y'all, Chris with CatchPro Wildlife Removal here on an attic on a roof doing a bat exclusion. Now an exclusion is just a fancy way for getting the bats out of the attic. So you don't trap bats, you don't spray bats, you don't kill bats. Bats are actually protected. Some are federally endangered or in Georgia are federally threatened and state protected. So you can't kill bats. It's generally discouraged to handle them unless it's one that's inside of a living space and you can catch it. But when you're dealing with a colony or a roost of bats, you do a process called exclusion. So we seal off all the potential entry points, place a one-way valve or cone or pipe where the bats are coming and going from that'll allow them to go out but not come back in, and then we give it time for the bats to get out. Depending on the time of the year, depending on the weather, that may take a couple days, that may take a couple of weeks. If you get a cool spell and the bats don't get as active because the insects aren't as active. But I'm going to show you what we're working on here. We're working on a roof. The bats are actually getting in under the ridge cap, so we've installed a product called Ridge Guard. It is a really quality product that's going to keep anything from getting in the ridge cap area, from getting under that ridge cap and accessing the attic. And it blends in from the ground. You never know, nobody's ever going to notice that you have something on your ridge cap. It blends in very well. Really good product. So I'll show you what it is. I'll show you our valves that we've got in place to get the bats out, and so you can see the process. So this metal is the Ridge Guard material. So it's a high quality powder coated black, so it blends right in with the ridge cap itself, or the ridge vent itself. It's got small holes, so it still allows for ventilation, but it's not going to allow even things like wasps and dirt daubers that are a lot of times are able to get in the attic. It's going to keep things like that out. So you can see it's installed over the existing ridge cap, and like I say, it looks really good. You don't notice it from the ground. Then here is one of our bat valves, and the way this is designed, this was an area that had a particularly large gap under the ridge cap that the bats were getting in. So we put this in the place where they're used to coming and going. We've got it secured, we've got it sealed off on the sides. So here we are on the roof and looking at the ridge vent, and you can see all of the bat guano piling up under the ridge vent. Now this side's actually fairly tight. You got a little bit of gap right here. But here's our major culprit. Especially this, a gap like this right here. That's a major gap that's letting those bats get in there. And I don't know if you can hear them or not, but I can hear them in there squeaking now. So the bats will be able to come out, they'll come out they'll be able to exit and do their thing, hunt like they always do. But when they come back, they won't be able to access this opening. They'll crawl around trying to find the opening, but there's nowhere else for them to get in. So they're gonna go somewhere else. That's a really important point. I hear people say from time to time, that have bats, I'll just let them get out, and then I'll let them get out in the evening, and I'll go foam the hole or put a sock in it or whatever to keep them out. Well, not necessarily all the bats go out all the time. You've also got concerns around the time of the year. So from May to July is what we call a blackout window. That is when bats have their young. The young are flightless, so the young don't leave the attic area. So if you exclude those bats or you seal the hole up during that time period, those young are going to die, and then because bats are protected, you could be facing serious issues. So what we'll do is we'll leave this valve in place for probably a week or so. The bats are very visible inside the ridge cap, and you can hear them. You actually hear them every once in a while squeaking. But I'll be able to visually inspect, ensure that the bats are all gone. Then we'll remove this portion, put our ridge guard on this portion, seal it up, and we'll be good to go. So that's the process. It's not necessarily as quick or easy as some folks expect. You can just spray them or fog them or bomb them or whatever, but it's a little more of a process. But that's the right way to do it. And the nitpicky thing can be all the other entry points that they can get in. So you really got to make sure you've got every area covered, because if you don't, when those bats are swarming in the morning trying to figure out how to get in, they're going to be looking all over. So if you've missed a spot, they're just going to find another place to get in. So and it's easy to miss a spot because of the small size of holes that the bats can get in. But that's a bat exclusion and a ridge guard installation.